we got the main event here, man. And after a 3 week tournament, guys, featuring multiple match of the year contenders right here, we get the New Japan Cup coming down to the Dragon Shingo Takagi and Will Ospreay down here at the Zipo Arena down in Sendai, Japan, right here. Both of these guys, dude, they fought over 30 minutes right here. But ultimately, we got Will Ospreay picking up the win after he blocked repeated last of the Dragon attempts. He kind of connected with the Hidden Blade and the Stormbreaker. This came after Will Ospreay connected with two Oscutters, including run from the turnbuckle to the outside, and he hit a 450 splash at the table right here. So this match, I think the official time stamp for this match, LK, was a hair over 30 minutes, 30 minutes and 6 seconds. Damn good match, honestly, because these guys have wrestled 3 times. I think this might be the last one, maybe the lesser one of the three. But that's
Really,
not saying
really. I
I
think you
do.
add the stakes. I think you had the stakes and the way it was wrestled, as in this time it was Osprey being the aggressor. I actually fucking love this. I don't know if it's because we've been watching this full tour, and every single night is reviewed on the channel, and just the emotional investment of watching a 12-day tournament in 16, 17 days. So every night coming home from work or before work, watching. It's a grind, but it's a fun grind, so it's nice. But
Facts. Okay, with
yeah,
that even being said, with that even being said, that this match is still very good to great, though. I'm not saying this match was not there. It was there.
yeah. I'd say I'm on great. I have watched the other two matches, and I really enjoyed their Best of Super Juniors final. And I think that you got to remember they did have the help of the crowd, as in the
Yeah.
crowd could make noise. Imagine this match if the crowd could actually physically make noise. I think you'd be looking at incredible territory. But for what they did and the time they were given in 30 minutes, they went out there and they had a banger. I was on the edge of my seat. I really loved it. It was just my cup of tea. I thought Ospreay did a great job. I think Shingo did a fucking great job. Um, it was just great. I don't get how, you said to me, because I went on Twitter and then I just rolled my eyes and went off it. Because it's just I don't want to get involved in any arguments, because like I'm one of those people where I bite, so I tend to stay away, which is why I don't get involved in many conversations. But yeah, I think the match itself was fucking great, and I recommend anyone to go out of their way to check this out. I really, really generally do, because it was good shit. And I don't get the beef. Is it because of who won? Is it because of after? Like, if I saw bits of after, and like we'll get to that when we get to that. But for a match, as the match stands itself, my prediction at the start was Ospreay, because Ospreay and Ibushi is fresh, it's different, it's new, and Ospreay after losing at Wrestle Kingdom, he needed this big win to elevate him to the main event status, which he will now be perceived as. He's now going to be challenging on a big show like Sakura Genesis, and guaranteed pretty much a spot into the G1 this year, even though he would have anyway. But I thought this was just a great wrestling match. They went out there and just, it was so refreshing seeing Ospreay, wrestle a guy who he wrestled as a junior as a heavyweight this time, and actually wrestle heavyweight style, like lots of strikes. There was just so many spots that were just so fucking great, and it was just phenomenal. It really, really was great way to start my day off. No complaints from me. If I've given stars on most things, and I'm gonna give it a 4.5 and 4 3/4. Yeah, if I add crowd in there, you're looking at 5. But that's out of their hands.
It was a fucking banger. I'll agree. And yeah, the post match. I think it might be before we even get to the post match stuff. I think it might be a little people might be a little upset with who won. And even though
Why?
I think
Why?
that's not about to get into. I think because we even picked this final. We picked the Shingo versus.
We said this final.
We
We
picked,
said this final was gonna happen.
and even though I wanted Shingo to win, and I said if Will Ospreay won, I wouldn't be too upset because if you look at the long run between these two guys, I love Shingo Takagi. I love the Dragon. But if you look at who would a win like this elevate more? Shingo's already 38. Will Ospreay's what 25, 26 right now. So if you're like, hey, who would this elevate more? It's going to elevate Will Ospreay more because even in that same token, if you take out the age factor, Shingo could pin fucking Kota Ibushi in a match, and he's a title contender. Like he doesn't need really to win a New Japan Cup. Like if Shingo would have won a New Japan Cup, it'd have been a cool little like feather in his cap. But he really didn't need to win it. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, all right, that's cool. Like I mean, I wanted Shingo to win, but it's just like I'm not gonna, be like too upset about it. And I've seen people online talking about how they're like pretty much not watching. They're saying about
Oh,
not
we
watching.
hear how many times, dear, we heard. Oh, I'm not going. Like, imagine that. Imagine watching. What's an example of a television show that's a hit at the minute? Because I've watched so much random old school shit. Because I'm catching up with having such poor taste in television, so I'm on the catch up with everyone. It's like Game of Thrones. It's like imagine like a character's direction went a certain way and being like, nope, I'm not watching that anymore. It's like Star Wars. Oh no, not happy with Luke Skywalker's direction. I'm not watching that anymore. No. Even though Mark Hamill just put in a banger of a performance and the story was great, but the guy who, he got killed off by Kylo Ren rather than him killing Kylo Ren, you're not going to watch the show anymore. It's like, come on. If it's, if you're pissed off because the product stinks, go for it. If you're pissed off after a fucking classic that one man won and the other man didn't, come on. You know what I mean? If it's not like he got screwed over by someone or there's a bullshit DQ finish or a count out or, this has been built for months and the wrong person won. It was a fucking tournament with a 24-hour build. Like, you know what I fucking mean? I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not. Because Ospreay and Ibushi's fresh. It's different. Yeah, Shingo won and would have gone to face Ibushi. He'll do great. We already talked about, like, threat level-wise, they're both quite equal. So it wouldn't have mattered really who won. But... no, it's a great tournament. Ospreay's been built well. He needed it after his loss to Okada at the Dome. It makes sense. Like, if you think otherwise, like, your opinion, your prerogative, at the end of the day, we're just fans coming on here shooting our opinion, and I appreciate you guys watching, but, if you don't agree and you think Shingo should have won, cool. Good for you. And I am hoping that you'll be okay and that you don't do anything too drastic and live to fight another day. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure Shingo will get chances down the line. You know what I mean? This isn't it. This isn't Shingo's career over. And guess what? You're going to be able to see him next week. It's not like he's retiring. You'll see him next week, bright and breezy, in the Kurikan Hall. Yeah, so don't fucking panic. It's like... If Shingo won, I'd have been like, oh, wicked, we get Shingo. Like, it was a win-win for me personally. That was one of the beautifuls. Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of it, because, like, there were so many matches in this tournament where I was rooting for kind of one guy, so if they lost, I was a bit, and then if they won, I'd be buzzing. For example, Great O'Khan and Naito, I really wanted Naito to win. Didn't happen. But, Shingo, remember, knocked off Okada in the first round. He then knocked off Goto. He then knocked off Evil. These are, apart from Goto, former IWGP heavyweight champions. Kenta as well, former GHC world champion. So it's not like he's gone out there and had a shit show of a tournament. He's beaten, fucking great wrestlers. So you should really look at it from that perspective. Like, he's had a great tournament with some great wins, which through that and getting to the finals itself has elevated him. Because now when he has a match with Okada, when he has a match with Kenta, when he has a match, etc., you're going to perceive him as, he can beat them. He beat them in the New Japan Cup. And if they continue to build and build and build, he could have a really strong fucking G1. Like, let's not just, instantly jump to, oh, I'm going to stop watching. That shouldn't be it. It's a booking decision for a reason. Like you said, the age and the fact that Ospreay, in my opinion, needed it more after... Ospreay's lost to Okada at the Dome. It's a new faction. You want to build the faction up. I think it was the correct booking decision. And trust me, we've come on here and we've shat on some of the booking decisions, Sonata, that have gone on. We're not shills. We don't come on here and say, oh, everything New Japan do is awesome, because not everything they do isn't awesome. It's true. But here, I think was a good booking decision. I'm going to stick with that. Stick with my guns. I thought it was a great match. I tilt my fucking cap. These boys going to be hurting today. Hopefully they enjoy the time off, but good for Ospreay. And me and you, I think we've covered him since his first match back when, we've been to different channels because of fucking YouTube. But, we've seen and covered him in, all over his career from junior to heavyweight to, first match at Dome with Ibushi and heavyweight and etc. So I just think it's great that we've seen him get to this point, and I'm happy for him. Again, this is us covering sorry to say this, a fake fight. You know what I mean? It's fucking like I love it to pieces. You know, I always will, always have. But in the end of the day, let's not cancel things and not watch things because someone won a fake bite. You know, I get passion, you know, but when it gets to the point when you start insulting the actual product and be like cancelling it, that's just like, we all need to chill the fuck out. Like, I get it, you wanted Shingo to win, but be like, take that emotion of, fuck you with Ospreay, and make that match versus Ibushi that much better. Because Ospreay's job is to make you hate him, and he's done a wonderful job at that.
Yep. And then too, I know people, and I don't know, man. I think people once they get their fan allegiances, man. I think they kind of lose sight of what actually makes sense. Like, don't get it twisted. You know how I am. Los Ingobernables stay upon to the death, and I would have loved if Shingo won this match, but it is made. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Will Ospreay, LK, I'll tell you that 100%. Even though I still think he's a great wrestler, I think he's 100% great wrestler. But I think him winning was the right decision right here because you can get more out of him winning the New Japan Cup than you can Shingo Takagi in the long run. Just being real.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, age isn't the only factor. It's the new faction. It's yep. You know what? This elevates everyone in that group because they're now going to be seen as a top tier group. So I'm not saying he should go on and win the fucking world title belt. But I'm just
in G1. When somebody beats him in a G1 climax, they beat the fucking New Japan Cup winner.
Exactly, and Shingo's already had a great tournament. If it was, excuse me, if Ospreay beat Okada, Kenta, Evil, and Goto, and then beat Shingo, I would agree with them. But the fact that Ospreay's beaten Finlay, Tenzon, you know what I mean? It's not.
Yep.
The list of people he's beaten except Shingo isn't as credible as Shingo. So Shingo technically has had a better tournament because he's knocked off multiple former world champions, and Ospreay hasn't. So yep. I think you should see it from that perspective as well. So they did Shingo a solid with all these wins. They did Ospreay a solid by winning the cup. It's a win situation in my opinion. It really is. So everyone just chill the fuck out, appreciate the match, and move on with your lives. Look forward to Secure Genesis.
Absolutely. And what what fucking Ospreay says, he said something post-match, LK, that I thought was really interesting before we get into the controversial part of it. He said he has a torn rotator cuff. And, okay, I'm not sure. I don't know how much you know about that injury, but at some point, if he legit has a torn rotator cuff, he's going to have to get surgery. And that surgery recovery time is about 6 to 8 months. So, if he has a legit... So... They might be trying to get the most out of him right now and then have to sit Will Ospreay down and get surgery, and then have him, sit and rest because, that's a serious injury and that doesn't really heal without surgery.
Yeah, I just say let's get through the next tour and then take some time off to heal that, get that shoulder surgically fucking fixed, and then he'll miss the G1. Yeah, he'll probably miss the G1. But he can come back at, whatever fucking show they end up doing in November time, October time, specifically for the Tokyo Dome. Maybe he'll want revenge on Ibushi for beating him. Maybe he'll want revenge on Okada for beating him last year. Who knows what they're going to do. Might end up teaming with Cobb or, Average O'Khan. There's lots of stuff they could do. But yeah, that's...
Or would New Japan would they put their nuts on a fucking table here on April the 4th and have Will Ospreay win this belt, dude? Because that would be the fucking ballsiest move in pro wrestling in a long time.
I mean, judging by the fucking response, and you don't know how much the office sees of this online Twitter stuff, because if it's in a different language, maybe they don't read. Because I'm really curious if anyone out there is Japanese, and I know there is because I see the YouTube analytics, what the actual Japanese response is on the Japanese Twitter. I'm not saying they have a different Twitter, but in the Japanese language. Are people saying being how people are over in the Western side, or are they saying this is a great story? Because it's a tough one, because on what we're referring to now is Ospreay when he hit the Oz Cutter on Bea Priestley. One side... Go on. What's your take on it, actually? And then I'll bounce off you on this Ospreay and...
The only thing that I have, the only problem that I have with this whole B Priestley Ospreay thing is it's they want Ospreay to be the biggest heel, and and this is my opinion, he's had such a hard time being a heel, and the way it kind of just played out, it was just kind of like I was like, all right, like I mean, I don't really like hate you no less, but like I was just like, okay, bro, you just, I, and then too, like what's crazy is like the post match stuff. I could kind of see how like it would kind of like offset some people because it's like I'm not even gonna get to no political stuff. I kind of bring it up to you when we get our podcast, but it's kind of political. I was like, I could kind of see how some people would like kind of view it like that, but I was just like, it didn't really. I was like, okay, you hit your girl with I ain't gonna call it an off cutter. I'm gonna still call it an RKO because you didn't springboard off nothing. So you hit her with an RKO. I was like, all right, like I mean, she did kind of help you win this match, but I was like, that's interesting, but okay.
It's yeah, I get why you'd get angry. I'd get why you'd get angry because, all right, like especially here in the UK, there was a death of a female, and they did a statistical kind of. They got like they did like a what they called a group, a specialist group, where it was like 1,000 women, all from different parts of the country, and they did this test, and the test, it stated that 97% in some way, shape, or form had been sexually mishandled or sexually assaulted, and it worked out that statistically 1 in 10 men are in the UK are sexual predators, so in the UK there's just been a big thing. There's been lots of support for the women. There's been lots of feminist groups going out, etc. It kind of feels like America. Lots of feminist groups going out, and more power to them. There's at the end of the day, they should feel safe. Like, how many times have we come on the air where it's like, yeah, I'm, especially Brad, poor Brad. The amount of times I messaged him saying, hey, look, I'm just taking my girlfriend home because, like, I always make sure, regardless, if my girlfriend comes over, if I go to hers, I always make sure I walk her home because at night it is a scary fucking place, and because there are so many pieces of shit out there. So the timing for the UK is disgraceful because we're literally in the middle of it right now, and it's fucking horrible. And by the way, if you listen to this and you've ever done any of that sexual assault shit, go fuck yourself and unsubscribe. So just got that out. But fucking, oh man, I've lost track because that stuff enrages me. I get that, but at the end of the day, like because I didn't know if in my mind I'm playing this wrong, so I sent my girlfriend. I never send her wrestling clips because this is this. She doesn't really. It's not she doesn't care. She always asks, like, how's the show and have fun, blah 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 blah, and watch this. If like a great match happens, I'll be like, watch this. If she's with me, but she wasn't with me, and I sent her the clip, and I was like, what did you think? This is apparently abuse, and she was like, what? She was just like really confused. She was like, it's at the matches. It triggered me a bit, but yeah, at the matches, fucking hell, sorry, Nan. No, she was just like, she said, and it was clearly a move, and she saw that it was clearly a woman's wrestler, so there was no need for it to be a big deal. It's could she said that it could be borderline. Again, this is her comment, not mine. She's just said, isn't that sexist, question mark. And I was like, I'm not answering this question because we're not having a conversation about sexist, because you're coming round tomorrow. And so it's like, it's a kind of a tough one. But by doing this, they've put themselves in a spot where we're having this conversation rather than us talking about Ospreay and Shingo. So should they have done this? No.
I don't know.
I get why, but from a TV perspective, in a TV perspective, right? If written on paper, maybe the way it was executed wasn't great, but on paper, if you have Ospreay, saying you're the booker, you Gator, and you're like, right, how about we have Ospreay post match saying, he loves the business and he loves that world title more than anything and anyone, and then he takes out beer with an Oscar, and the crowd goes mad. The crowd's stunned silent, and then he gets in Ibushi's face. Like, pitching that sounds phenomenal. Like, you gotta admit, imagine if that happened on Raw. You know, imagine that happened on fucking Raw. You know, imagine.
What I think would have made it better. I'm sorry, I meant to cut you off. Okay, but you know what I think would have made it a little better if throughout the weeks leading up to New Japan Cup, she would have maybe done some things that almost cost them matches, or almost kind of get in the way of things.
See, I disagree with that, because then it would look like he's punishing her, and that's not what you want. You know, that would have been a bit too far. I think it's a real shit position they put themselves in by doing this, because you know the timing and how everything's going on, and people do look at, you know, domestic abuse as fucking awful when they are actually married. But in the end of the day, it's a male wrestler doing a wrestling move. And fuck sex. Sex doesn't matter, male, female. It was a male wrestler doing a safe... it was a wrestler doing a safe wrestling move on another wrestler. That's what this was.
Jana said this too. Well, Ospreay's the only person in New Japan that could have done this, because if you think about it, who could like really have done this to be Presley without looking like a, you know, crucial, like, vile, despicable, whatever. You know what I mean? He's the only, like, nobody could have gotten any comeuppance on her except for Will Ospreay, if you really think about it. So he's kind of the only one that could have done this spot right here.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you were offended by what Ospreay done, I will not hold that against you.
That's fine.
You know what I mean? It is how you feel. And like, for me, if that was real life and Ospreay actually hit his girlfriend, I'd go over and in front of me, I'd go over and punch him. You know, regardless of who it is, if you punch a woman, you're a piece of shit. And, you know, you deserve what's coming to you. But the way my mind was at the time, and I've had many hours to digest it and many conversations, it was, you know, I don't believe in, you know, male wrestlers should be treated differently to women wrestlers. They're all fucking wrestlers. They all put on tights. They all put their lives on the line. They all do the exact same fucking thing. So it was a wrestler hitting a fake fucking move on another wrestler. You know, it's no different to being in a kitchen and having in a restaurant and having, you know, chef male cook you some food, chef female cook you food. It's going to be the same fucking meal when it comes to the table of the customers.
Okay, you know what else this does? Because think about it. We've been seeing this too. Think about the negative backlash Kota Ibushi's been getting, right? You know what I mean? He was like, oh, he's combining the titles. You know, people have been kind of like salty about Kota Ibushi. Now in this match, you damn near kind of have to cheer Kota Ibushi, because he pretty much was wrestling dude who just hit his girlfriend with RK.
Exactly, man. The fact that everyone's not hyped about Ibushi no more, because the fact he's technically being a little bit of a heel by unifying both these belts and destroying the lineage and history of the belts. Having an actual heel that people can hate, truly hate, because of a fake move he done to his girlfriend, who's also a wrestler, I think is good. Okay, do I understand why people are mad? Yes. Do I think that should it not be as mad as they are? Yeah. Like, it's you know, hopefully over time people are like, okay, cool, it's maybe it was a heat of the moment type thing, like, oh my god, that's disgusting, which, to be fair, is good. You know, people reacting to women abuse is great. You know, men, especially, like, you know, you do I take pride in the fact that, you know, the people I follow were standing up and being like, look, abuse to women isn't right, and I tilt my hat. But at the same time, you know, this is a big moment for Bea Priestley as well. At the same time, you know, this is a big moment. She's in the finals of the New Japan Cup next to Ospreay. She was involved in a major storyline. This is good for her career too. You know, she's on the talking of our lips. We're talking about her. This is good. But yeah, it's I don't know, if this was like MMA, different story. But it's a work, you know, it's a work. They talked about it beforehand. It wasn't like Ospreay flipped and hit, you know, 5,000 reverse spiked runners. He hit a safe move. If he hit an elbow, that would have been a different ball game. That would have been a different ball game. It was an RKO. You know, we fucking all played fight and hit girlfriends or friends that are girls with fake wrestling moves all the time, and just like you do with the boys. Just in the end of the day, we're all humans, and that's how I think the world should be perceived as men and women equal. So to me, because I have that belief of men and women being equal, if that makes me wrong, no, But yeah, this was fun. I enjoy shows like this, proper meat and potatoes of shows. So yeah, but again, sound off your comments.